if you ask the LGBT question and you want to defend it and almost cast out demons in the process, because there are no demons to cast out. The truth is there is a reality to deal with, and you've got to prepare this child that they can be in a world that has it but not be it. But that can only be a conversation.
And you know why? We have to have this conversation. You and I might not deal with it like to the fullness of it, but the world our children are getting into, their economy, the work environment, where we are, tunawasomesha wakafanye kazi. Imagine how their world.
The world, and you can imagine what the world will look like in a couple of years' time. And that's a world. It's about the world you're preparing them for.
Thank you. It's the world you're preparing them for. What am I doing now to equip my child to plug and play when it comes?
You know, I was watching a clip, I think, by Vusi, and he says, sometimes we hold a degree and we are very proud of the paper we hold. And we must quickly realize, as soon as we display the paper, it shows what I learned in the past. But the question is, how prepared am I to learn for the future? And I think that's going to be extremely important. And it's important to celebrate the milestone, but we've got to constantly remind ourselves the future may not necessarily be the continuation of the past. Denying it does not extinguish its existence. And therefore I might as well then prepare. And this, sometimes we have this conversation with my own children and I say, the fact that it's all around you does not necessarily mean you must be it. But you can consciously be aware and choose a different path.
Absolutely.
And you must choose a different path.
And you're using the right word. You're using the right word. Choose. Because you can tell your child all you want to tell them. And they will make a choice to do the exact opposite. Or they will do and say, instead of doing exactly what mom and dad said, can I, because it's about them. Again, it's about them. Today, I will ask you, what woke you up today morning? It's your phone. Before you stepped out of your bed, were you on WhatsApp? Very many people will say yes.
It's probably the first place people go to, the phone.
The first place. Before you even say good morning to the people you are under the same roof. You have responded to Twitter, you have responded to Facebook. Those are millions of people out there.
Engage with people out there before you even come back home.
By the time you are, say, on a platform like Twitter, you're accessing news, and the news there has so much toxic energy. You have consumed that toxic energy.
So you tell me, so how then do we safely? Because we're not going to wish technology away. And know that there's a foundation of the function at home. I mean, that for me is a strong point you made. There's a strong foundation of the function at home. And by all means, we must endeavor to make it as functional as we possibly could be. And maybe even these conversations are part of function. All right? But what then looks like the appropriate utilization of technology? Because the technology is not a vice per se. In fact, it's almost neutral. It depends on how you use it. Right? So how do we then leverage and build on technology so that then we extract as much value and we propel ourselves and become the great Perseverers, man? It's an amazing resource we have.
Exactly. I keep saying, first and foremost, even as we are at that point, you are talking now to the parent. So it is upon you to take first an inventory of how you use your technology.
As the parent?
So I have X amount of social media platforms. I log in at this point. I log out at this point. If you have those behaviors, hata kwa choni na beba simu, those are very unhealthy behaviors. So do I, and then also coming to the point of what content do I access? Is it part of work? Is it part of entertainment? You get what I mean? So that even when you're looking at that inventory sheet you've made, you're like, hey, it is more unhealthy than healthy, or it is more healthy than unhealthy. Then you get to the point of when will I engage what, when, and where, right? Because as a parent, I think about your normal school going season. You will wake up, you have your children maybe for breakfast. If I'm talking about a typical, because I know that people who live very early and so you probably have your children for breakfast, they go to school, you go to work. You either come late, have dinner, or you can come early, have dinner with them, or come late, find they've had dinner, they're going to bed. So your window of engaging your child is very little. It's either probably over the weekend, if there is a weekend for you, or that kind of stuff. So if you look at your own usage of technology, what chunks of time can you give away to give your family? And in what manner? Okay? You're getting to a point where you're trying to balance. This is the whole thing. You'll never get it right. You're balancing. And then ask yourself, so the same way you're going to tell your child, this is passive screen time, this is,
active.
Yes. Do you have that for yourself? Because the one thing that I'm going to tell you today is that you cannot give what you don't have. But you can also not share what you don't know. Let me try and see how hard it is to have a screen time schedule
and walk in those shoes and deal the struggles of it.
It will be painful, my friend. So that when you are helping your child and you see them struggling, you know where the struggle is. Yes, you feel that like I truly understand. So instead of removing 1 hour, let's shed off 5. Let's shed off 10 minutes gradually. Because you have felt it yourself. Also, at your level, as a parent,
and I like that, because we're dealing with a problem at 2 different paradigms.
You have
where you think you have absolute freedom to be and do whenever, but they have restrictions purely on account of age or whatever it is, and therefore you can't resonate with it.
You can't. For you as a parent, you kind of are trying to catch up with what is there. For them, it is really plug and play. Okay, so I want to be able to help myself to harness technology. And I want to learn, maybe for you, maybe you're really good at YouTube and all this kind of stuff. You're not good at TikTok. I want to learn about TikTok. So when do I learn about this TikTok? Can you have even your child teach you? Because they're on that platform. For them, it is so easy. They can teach you.
They're natives.
But then also, as a parent, and I think this is also where we need to find ourselves. The way you said, we started by you saying that there are careers that never existed. For them, their jobs do not exist. But there are certain skills that they probably have to have now, that when that job, even for them to just say that is a job I can do, create it, or they see an opportunity, plug and play. So what are the skills? So you have to help them see, is coding a skill? Is crypto a skill? Because we are hearing these things. Videography, all these kind of things. Are you interested in this kind of space? Your child might want to be a pilot one day. They might not really fly a real aeroplane, but they can do drone pilots.
We got drones around, man. You just let our viewers know that we've got drones on set. That's how we roll.
And you know what they're doing? It's the droning where they're playing with gadgets like their video games. You get what I mean? I keep telling my own children, they need to learn how to code. One, because we can't be, as Africans, the ones who are buying these games from out there. Why don't we code games from Africa and sell outside? It's
my friend Evelyn, you're saying so many beautiful things. I don't know why you're saying so many beautiful things at the same time, but anyway. See what? I mean, today's engagement on their technology space prepares them for careers that don't exist today. But will be the careers in another 5, 10, 15 years.
We will not participate in that
economy. Those careers are not even for us, maybe. They are for them. All right? And therefore, we cannot condemn technology. We've got to leverage technology and allow them to prepare for the world that they're building for themselves. In fact, I suspect for some of those guys, it's not even looking for that job. They will create possibilities that create enterprises, that create industries, that create so many possibilities.
Imagine for you, and you talk to a parent who tells you, this social media space is so crazy, and they've not even heard of the metaverse. Sasa huyo utamtoa kutoka mali yuko mpaka kwa metaverse sangapi?
Hebu tueleze, what is this metaverse thing, bwana? I only hear about it. What is metaverse?
It is, working with AI. Being immersed in technology in such a way that you feel you're in it. If your child is playing Roblox in 2022, they're participating in the metaverse, right? The same way somebody will create very good opportunities for them there, there'll be somebody else creating harmful things for them right there, right? It is about understanding that, by the way, I cannot compete with you, I can't even catch up with you. Our role as parents with all this technology work is to create a foundation. That's the best you can do.
And now that you've talked about foundation, I'll tell you this. There are many parents that are going to watch this and they keep seeing different giftings and talents in their children. But again, back to the point you made earlier about knowledge of how to then connect the dots. And just being able to say, so when I see this skill in my child, this is a technological conversation probably I need to have to complement it. How do we go about building that?
Being intentional. It's all about being intentional.
Are there places that I find this information that help me? EDC?
You see, that's why I was trying to help you also see that the things you spend your time doing on the internet matter.
Right.
The content you consume matters, by the way.
Right.
It can't be you're always consuming things that are not helping your brain. Right? I can assure you, like right now, if you want to see like what kind of roles HR practitioners are looking for, and by the way, this is not HR practitioners, this is AI, because it is an algorithm that has been set out there. So there's no human face until probably at a certain time. You just need to look at the current jobs. What are the skills they're looking for? Spend your time on LinkedIn, right? Spend your time there. Even you as yourself, if you want to digitize or see where is my space in terms of my career, I am in this career. What
is it going?
Looking for? So that if I don't have this skill, I can plug and play on this. Spend your time on LinkedIn. Yeah, what are you doing on Twitter? Unafanya nini Twitter? I'm unafanya nini Facebook?
It's more place. I mean, just
so no.
Become like a keyboard warrior bandit, right?
On one platform, you might be doing something that is not edifying you, but you're losing on another platform. Right. You want to find out how interviews are going on nowadays. You will not find that conversation on, say, Twitter or Facebook.
And you know that then lands us to the question of then the different technology platforms.
Yes.
And the utilization of this, and just selection of what technology is available for what, which platform should I be then on? That becomes, because at the end of the day, we all want to be progressive.
Yes.
And progress looks like this, and it looks different to different people, because we are all in different spaces. Speak a bit into available platforms and who they should be resonating with, so that I know, career guys, man, this is a place. This is easy. Help us just to connect some of those dots.
When I get my phone and I'm going to, so that you put it on your feed,
right?
I'm going to show you even like marketing. You know, there are people who create very nice marketing tips,
right?
And they do a thread on Twitter.
Right.
You just need to follow those threads. Look at these platforms. Okay, this will help me. This will not. Right? And I know every platform has something for somebody, and this is why I say this. Depending on how we consume content, there are those people who don't mind reading big chunks of word content, right? They'll be on Facebook because Facebook gives you an opportunity to read or post very lengthy posts.
Right.
There's somebody who wants that lengthy post on Facebook converted into a minute video on TikTok, and they will get that information like this, or 260 characters for Twitter, or a video like this on YouTube. So it really depends on what kind of information am I looking for, and how do I conceive that information? So that if I'm going to TikTok, then the same person who would probably put this information on Facebook has probably converted this same information for my consumption on TikTok.
Right.
That is it.
Right.
So you need to just look at who's the industry player, what are the milestones people are looking for out there, then I'll go look for those people on the internet.
So you've got to be very intentional about your own journey at the end of the day. Because the information is available, but sometimes there's also information overload. So I don't even know where to sift and look for what I need.
I'll give you one platform,
just
one.
Right.
And that one platform, unfortunately, it will keep giving birth to very many platforms.
I hope you can give me two, but let's start with the first one.
The only platform that I use personally, even for research and all this kind of things, it's called answerthepublic.com. Yes, Answer the Public. So what that platform does, you will go and put in key how to make short videos, right? And it will tell you for who. It will give you the demographics that now you will decide, I want to just look for the demographic of people, location, and stuff like that. So if you choose the demographic for who, it gives you links for where you can get that.
Right.
So it is one site, Answer the Public.
Yep.
We'll put for your audience.
Yeah.
That when you get in there, it will give you the category, so that you're also not playing with, because it's information overload, but it is very categorized information.
Right.
That one will help you.
Yeah, because and I think that helps, because we have information overload at the same time.
It is a lot.
You're not even sure where to start, where to go, and all of that stuff. In the process, you even bump into non-useful things.
You start opening 100 tabs, hoping to read them, but you don't read.
And you don't.
You keep bookmarking things.
And you get distracted completely.
It's a huge.
As you speak to policy makers, because then you're in the policy space as well, what are those things that you say, if we can do X, Y, and Z, it's going to make it easier for our parents.
Yes.
It's also going to make it easier for our children. And ultimately, technology shall be positioned for progress.
Yes.
And less of a vice, but more of a value that we can build on.
Wow, policymakers, the people who I really speak to all the time I have these conversations is the regulator for telcos. And telcos because I always look for solutions based on the problems I see with the kids. So a telco, and I'm not going to name names because, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just leave it at telcos.
If you're going to create SIM cards, we need to start creating SIM cards that are tailor-made for children, okay? And this is normally my argument. As a parent, if I have opened a bank account for my child and we deposit money, until that child has an ID and legal age by the country that they belong to, I am the legal guardian to that parent, to that child, to access money, and especially to access money. They can deposit, to access money. Those are parameters that have been put by the financial institutions. So when we need to start looking at how to create specific SIM cards for children. And this is why I say this. There's one time, you know, and I think it was during COVID, and you'll find that there's this hashtag called Ifikie Wazazi where we keep pondering and, you know, complaining about children of this age, where a group of children ordered for alcohol from a vendor, paid via M-Pesa, and used the rider system to bring that alcohol home. And the rider didn't really vet when they were giving the child, because it's umepiga simu na mwenye amechukua simu ndo anaendea hiyo the package, it's a child. They really didn't ask, is this for your consumption or not, until a parent somewhere saw that this particular adult gave alcohol to a child. That alcohol came from somewhere. You have given your child a SIM card that is registered to you as an adult. So if that SIM card was to perpetrate any crime, my friend, it is you. You
take responsibility.
Sindio. But even if your child is not perpetrating any crime or, you know, doing any divisive things, there are certain things that should be restricted from that child's access. M-Pesa being one of them. They can transact through us because there are certain things that we would not want them to access. And the reason why I say this, it's because even when you're having very intimate conversations with girls, and I don't know if this is, I want to say this on this platform, but, you know, girls who, you know, our society is dysfunctional, and I feel so bad sometimes when I have to have conversations with girls who are like, I don't want to date men because of how I've seen my dad treating my mom. Why can't I have relationships with girls? And then they're like, but we can even satisfy ourselves in certain ways. This is where we bought this and these things. We bought, which means at the end of the day, there was a platform that was used and there was money that exchanged. If I am a shop owner of these mugs and somebody comes and pays, I'm in the market for money. I am in the market to exchange a good for money, right? Hardly will I want to know the consumer of this, right? Because if it's going to a home, the mug will be used by anybody, right? And this is the thinking I have with that, because very many people who receive even M-Pesa, because right now we are so digital, even all our transactions are digital. The person who has received the money is exchanging that good for money. Do they know if it is a child who's going to use it? Probably not. Why? Even the name that paid for that, whatever it is, what was an adult's name, right? They will say, deliver it to a certain point, and it is delivered, because even the courier, amepata kazi ya kudeliver. You know what I mean? So even for these policy makers and telcos, this is what I keep saying. Let's get to a point where you can create SIM cards specifically for children. Then buy for your child, you know, a SIM card, and then tell them, Evelyn, I'm giving you a phone. These are the responsibilities behind this phone. It has this SIM card. When they turn 18 and they get an ID, you can go and upgrade that SIM card to an adult fully functional SIM card. So that, should anything happen, who takes responsibility? It's that child. But as a parent, and even as that regulator, you have done your part in ensuring that. So the regulator does their part by ensuring that there's safety, but also gives the parent an opportunity to have a conversation around the responsibility of these gadgets.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Number two, we have very specific, very specific internet packages for homes. Very specific. As a parent who is in tech, I do know the functionalities and the benefits of having a firewall, for instance. But I do know that even if I protect my house from all kinds of things, outside the house my child will access stuff. But to the point, in schools, in homes, in malls, at restaurants, we need to have, restaurants, I will talk about it, but like in homes, I'm coming to get home fiber. Can the internet provider put a filter to the, it's called last mile, at the last mile of this internet when it is receiving through my house, so that just like other places, when you want to buy content, it is at a premium. You pin even your credit card on it, you buy it, right? Because the content is out there. But what are you doing as a telco? Because the policy states if internet has to be subscribed into a home, don't give the parents the headache of trying to know how to filter. Filter it for them so that when it is coming, anybody who will circumvent will be a very small percentage. Very small percentage. Let us filter the crap, the dirt, the things that we do not want our children accessing. It is very specific. So if I want to buy any other thing or circumvent or go behind the policy, I have to be very intentional, right?
Yep.
So those are the kind of things, and those are the conversations that we can have. Right. And also having institutions where we are, like research institutions where if we are progressing and seeing that, like right now we are working with AI and stuff like that, are there people who are telling us how policy will be changed? So are we creating awareness on how in 2023 we'll have this kind of technology, we need this kind of policy, let us plug and play, as opposed to this technology, bam, it's here. We are having this set of problems, and policy doesn't take a minute. It's a process. By the time we are implementing that policy, technology has bypassed it.
Absolutely.
So we just need to have maybe that kind of different conversation.
Yep.
And also seeing, like, as a country and even as a government, what is our responsibility towards safety? When we have that conversation and then we take it back to the parent and say, okay, sisi tumefanya basic infrastructure, infrastructure yetu iko like this,
right. So
back to you. And that same person who is doing that infrastructure is a parent, by the way. So also they know at some point there's a conversation that I have to have in my home. Right. It is a little easier, and it also makes us feel like, yes, we are not being left with a heavy burden to do all these things. Because unfortunately for us, and I keep saying as Kenyans, all parents I see walking, you have 2 fire extinguishers on your back, your wife has 2, you're waiting for the fire to blow out. By the time you're blowing out that fire, you'll not go back to default settings, unfortunately. So we need to stop being firefighters. Right. We need to start looking at, okay, I saw smokes in someone else's house, it can easily be in mine. I saw smoke in another country, it can easily be mine. I mean, even like the challenges that we all read about on social media, where there were children who are told to, to strangle themselves until they pass out, and there's a camera, and it's a challenge. And when you strangle yourself, you're denying oxygen in your brain. Of course. What are the consequences of it? It could easily be your child, because they're using the same platforms and on the same internet. Right. So it's a matter of just understanding that times are different, and everybody has a responsibility towards keeping their children
Absolutely.
safe. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just curious, man. Do you go to schools, because you have a very big heart for children, and of course the people around them. I just wonder, do you go to schools to have these conversations? I mean, if for example a principal of a school was watching, because see, today we can discuss a lot about the children who we have at home, but by the time kids get to Form 1, they're in school more than they are at home. Yes. And we can do all we can to insulate and sanitize home and etc. But they immediately go to high school, and by the time they're done in high school, they're going off to college, and life happens. And I'm just curious, do you engage with schools, for example, to teach our boarders and the parents and the teachers with them how to handle these things? And of course, I know you go to homes and all of that stuff, but do you go to schools as well?
Yes, actually, that is the bulk of the space that I play in. In the schools, first to train the teachers to understand how to deal with the kids, because the kids will come with all manner of content and exposures. These are the basic things that you would do, ABCD, but also the kids. And when I'm having conversations with the kids, because we'll do probably a class, but there's a part where you have to engage them as them in terms of having real life conversations that make sense to them, and helping them understand that as much as it was happening to somebody else, it could easily be you, and like the consequences of what they're doing. So yes, I do have conversations. It's not one conversation. It can never be one conversation. It has to be a conversation that is progressive. Yeah. I like working with clubs and then working with the younger ones. Like if it's in a high school, working with Form 1, engage in that Form 1 so that when they go to Form 2, they can mentor a Form 1. When they go to Form 3, they can mentor, so that it is a cycle that even when Evelyn gets out of this space, I have equipped a club that is ready to keep generating this kind of mentorship all through the people who are coming into that.
And I'll tell you, what you're doing is priceless.
Thank
because
you.
I can tell you for free, the greatest heritage we have is our children.
Yeah.
But it's been infiltrated.
Yes.
And I think it was God who must have said to Cain, sin is at your door. And vices seem to be at our door. But the fact that you can take of your time, one, to sensitize, just to speak.
Yeah.
Because we hardly pay attention to what we are not going to talk about.
Yeah.
The fact that we can begin to speak and say, man, as a parent, I've got to raise my game in terms of even having uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
Because my lack of having them doesn't change how the world out there is. So it's me to prepare my children for the world.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
it includes the uncomfortable conversations. It includes monitoring what they're doing on the screens. It includes giving them the why I want them to do it a certain way. Because it's not just about the what. It's also about the why.
It's the why.
If they appreciate the why, they're likely going to do it on their own.
Yes.
If it's about what, it's just a compliance issue, obedience issue.
Exactly. Until it changes.
Until it changes.
Yeah.
And the why then begins to embed a value system. It begins to embed ethos. It begins to embed many aspects that sustain them past the action.
And that has nothing to do with technology.
It has nothing to do with technology.
It is just the fabric of society.
Absolutely.
Yes. So there's no parent who will out there go and say, nimeshindwa na hizi vitu mnatuambia. If it's conversation, you don't need tech to have conversations.
And that conversation beyond your foundation.
Yes.
In fact, I was very fascinated when you said in your house you don't even have a sitting table.
No, I don't.
You all connect at the carpet.
Yes.
And you all sit at the carpet, have your meals and have your conversations.
You know what? There are parents, and they start having conversations with parents who have, those cocomelon children. Yep. Cocomelon, you're not there.
Right.
Cocomelon children.
Right.
When you're talking to them about, inappropriate touch, you can't talk to them the way you're talking to a teenager. The best you can do, sing. You get what I mean?
Right.
When you're bathing them, when you're dressing them, when you're choosing clothes, sing. Because for them, at the cocomelon age, song is how they interact. Song is,
it's how they learn, it's how they remind themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
When they start growing up, you grow with them.
Right.
How old is your eldest child?
13.
So you're 13.
Will be 13, yes.
So you are 13.
Right.
You have to talk like a 13-year-old.
Right.
Okay? You can't talk like an adult. You have to get to their level.
Right.
So how they are talking, how they are interacting, my friend, if you are bypassed, umepitwa.
But the biggest deal there, Evelyn, is also being present. Because you're not even going to have the conversations if you're not there.
Then why are you a parent?
Well, we all busy making money. That's what we say to ourselves.
Good. Create the money, then bring it to us. We will, create spaces to rehabilitate your child.
Right.
But rehabilitation is not the best.
It'll be painful at that time.
You will pay. You will pay for rehabilitation.
Something gives at the end of the day.
You will pay for it. I kept asking, at what cost? What is the cost?
Right.
You have to be very clear with what is the cost.
Right.
Because you will struggle now when your children are young. Grow with them. Let them know. Because even when you're letting your child go out of your house, you're not feeling like, oh my gosh, did I prepare them adequately? Let them go.
And it's a common question at that point. Yet inevitably you have to let them go.
One of the saddest things, and maybe as we wrap up, one of the saddest things is I had a friend of mine, and this one she gave me consent to keep sharing this because it's a very sad but humorous story. She had this child going to the UK for studies, and the ordinary things that you do, clear the table. You will feel like these are very minute things. They're not common everywhere. So this child goes to the UK and they get into their dorm, and a week later they call their mom and say the toilet is stinking. What do you take of that? The toilet is stinking. Then the mom asked, did you flush the toilet? You do not want to know the response they gave. They had used the toilet for a whole week without flushing it. I know, again I say, it is a sad but humorous story. Let's get out of that, because that is basic cleaning and stuff like that. And this is a girl, because I mean, in fact, my head went off. Then they asked the mom, so how do I do this? Cook. How do I cook this? Simple things like put a pot in the fire, open it up. If it's something for boiling, put water, put it to boil. the mom had to do a the iPhone Meet. It's what? FaceTime and help the child to cook. And you had 18 years. You had 18 years before you decided hata mtoto hayuko Kenya sasa. Ameenda. Unamfundisha kupika kwa
So
FaceTime.
you're teaching how to cook on FaceTime?
Unamfunza clean on FaceTime.
And how to flash on FaceTime?
Yes.
I don't want to ask whether they were shy for the week that they're talking about, but
you know, it is so sad
it's
because
unfortunate.
You can't wait to that point. There's a friend of mine who cooked chicken with aliingisha kuku, a live chicken. Hata sijui aliuaje, but alipika kuku na everything in it, manyoya and everything. And in my head I was like, wait, you've eaten chicken all your life. Have you ever eaten chicken where you had to start removing the knees when the feathers when the chicken is on the table? Where? How? Because we also are at the point where we feel like if there's somebody else who can do that, let them do. Let them do. I keep telling my friends that even my nanny, I tell my nanny, if my kids don't spread their beds, please don't spread. If they leave their clothes on the floor,
let them find it there.
Imagine, just lift clean and leave it there. There's a time my daughter came and asked, why are these clothes on the floor? I said, ask the person who removed them from their body why the clothes were on the floor. Because they came and found them exactly at that point. And I'm trying to teach them that, because you know you will keep saying, but there's a consequence that has to befall you, eh? So you did not spread your bed, my friend. Sino unailalia, utakuja tu ipate hivyo hivyo. So even as parents, as we are having the issue of technology, and I know there are tips that I keep giving, and allow me to just share these tips. You know, when your kids are on holiday or even the weekend, when they wake up in the morning, train them to do certain things before the TV comes on. Brush your teeth, groom yourself. Go make your bed. Go have breakfast. Have a conversation with an actual human being. Just ask them, by the way, how was your night? What did you dream about? It takes 5 minutes, then go do your things. Don't let your child find themselves in pajamas at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. and they woke up at 7. That's bad manners. You know, because are they prioritizing? Let also children understand as much as there's an on button, there's an off button. So if we are going to put on the TV at 7 a.m., when are we going to shut it down? Right? When are you going to interact with your friends outside? Even if they're going to tell you their ideas, let that conversation happen. Those are just the basic tips. If your child is going to watch a whole, so like the boarders, and I get them. When I came from boarding, I would binge on, series. It's okay. There's this series that Sikuacha, iko on Netflix, you're binging. Let me have time to go to the bathroom. Let me have time to interact. Let me eat away from this screen. It's basic things so that at least I'm giving my eyes even just a break. Simple tips. Mukikula hata nyinyi wote kwa the dining table, put your phones there. I keep saying, even if you don't have a fancy basket, you have containers in your kitchen, you can wipe clean, put your phones there, put them aside, so that when we are having conversations, kama mulikuwa mmekosana asubuhi, jioni, you can't eat when you're annoyed with each other. You will look at each other and say, I'm sorry. Let parents not feel it hard to say, by the way, I think I overreacted when I said ABCD. Because that's all children also want to hear. I'm sorry. I did not understand.
Coming from a parent.
Yes. And it's not supposed to be so big of you. Say it and mean it, But the point is, when everybody is eating when their phones are here, those conversations will not happen. You also have to have, apart from the collective time, individual time. Your children are different. All different. Your daughter is 13. You cannot have conversations with your 13-year-old and a child who is less than 13, because what your 13-year-old is going through, even physically, is very different. So you want to sit with your child and ask them, the boys who are around you, what do they tell you? You know what I mean? And you're even sharing, stories, because you're the father, and sharing those stories. And okay, maybe in your situation, you will have more of these courting sessions online. How do you vet friends? How do you vet friends? Because even for me in class, this is exactly the kind of questions, and we do them when you're having conversations. When you're playing a video game and there's a chat, and somebody comes and tells you, hi, you look pretty, can we chat? How do you vet that is not is a child, not an adult? You get what I mean? It's the same process you have to teach your child. So, like I said, in class, I teach them, like, even when they're playing games, and also, even on social media, somebody will DM them and they leave the physical space, like the space we can see of chats and everything, and start going into the direct messaging. How do you teach your child how to vet whom they're talking to? Because they can't see them.
Because it's online.
It's up to you.
Right.
Unfortunately for us, we had to see each other.
Yep.
Our emotions were there.
Yep.
Online, it can be very different.
Right.
So again, we have to be very intentional.
Ours was physical vetting.
It was physical.
They are doing digital vetting.
Yes.
And it's vetting nonetheless.
It is vetting nonetheless.
Right.
Yes. Am I talking to a child? Am I talking to an adult?
Right.
The pedophiles are there.
Absolutely.
The people who have ill intentions.
And they'll prey on all of them.
Yeah. So I think, the hope is that start from somewhere.
Yep.
If you really do not even know where to start, go home and ask your teenage or even your preteen, but then what is your favorite? I wrote that today on my social media. Do you actually know what your child's digital life is? And this is what I was asking. What is their favorite platform? Please go find out. Why is that their favorite platform? How much time do they spend on that platform? What are they engaging in and with who? Hizo swali nne. By the time unauliza ya kwanza, you will have so many things to ask. By the time unauliza ya pili. But the thing is, you are unpacking something that you really didn't know. Because you might know they have a friend outside who's called John. You know John, right? But do you know John's family's values? I keep even telling parents, when your child comes and says a new person, date their parents. Date their parents, just to get and know, okay, this is who we are, this is what we bring to your space.
Right.
I really want to know what you're bringing to my space. Right. Even my kids, and they'll tell me, my friends in school, they're playing this game, and I'm like, I don't mind. But before we get to the gaming, can we know who these people are? Yeah? Can I date their parents? Can you get to ask certain questions? Right? That's how you get to know people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just go try that today.
Right.
Go ask your child.
What are your favorite sports?
Just your favorite platform.
Right.
Why? How much time do you spend there? What do you engage with and with who? By the imagine is on you'll have a conversation for almost a month. Believe me.
True.
And
one thing will lead to another and another.
Yes.
Right.
And then let us stop asking default questions.
The yes, no.
Stop. Ask them, you are stressed. What stressed you? What exactly stressed you?
Let's talk about it.
They will tell you. How did it make you feel? Because they need to put a feeling to the, a name to the feeling. Okay, before you start prescribing your own ideas and your own solutions, ask them, what do you think you would have done? Or somebody else did, what would you have done differently? So that you also try and understand this is their coping mechanisms and also how they resolve conflict.
And they begin to develop their own coping mechanisms. Absolutely.
Even resolving conflict.
So they don't depend on you for answers all the time. They also then build their own creativity around that.
We are raising robots.
Right.
We are raising robots.
We're only waiting for instructions.
What can I do?
Right.
I finished. What can I do?
Right.
And then after that?
Right.
No. Plan.
In the absence of instructions, nothing happens.
By the imagine utapata wameketi. Ama wana binge sasa kuwatch passive screen time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Evelyn, I think I've absolutely loved this conversation because at the end of the day, it's not even a technology question.
No, it is not. Never is.
And
technology is a tool.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Technology is a tool. When you enter in your wife's kitchen, because I say the kitchens are for us women, you will find a variety of knives. There's one that she cuts the very hard bones, this and this for salads. By then, even women who you cannot touch a certain board with kitungu because it's for fruits or it's for vegetable. Kuna kwanga na watu wako hivyo. Technology is like that. It is what am I using this for?
Absolutely.
How am I integrating it?
Absolutely.
And also, as another tip for parents who their kids have not really gotten into the space of social media, the tip I'll tell you is, don't say no. Can we get in one platform at a time? Okay? So that, sit with your child as you're registering onto this platform. Basic things, so many community guidelines. You know what we do? Next, finish. Because first and foremost, if you don't accept the terms and conditions, you will not sign in. You won't. People just tick so that
we move on. Next.
Then you don't understand that these community guidelines are actually meant for you. They're not meant to protect the platform. They're meant for you. Okay? And simple things like, should your child have, today let me teach you a new word, a red flag feeling. It is a feeling that you get when you're uncomfortable or anxious. Children feel that a lot. So tell your child, if you have a red flag feeling, I'm not here. Enda sahi uweke tu number 116, stick it on the fridge. Because if they call that number and it's toll free, and somebody's bullying them and somebody's making them feel uncomfortable, there's a psychologist who will talk to them. It's a free number. It is being run by our government. Do we know about it?
No.
And
116.
116. Put it on the fridge. Your children are always on the fridge. Always.
Wow.
They will see it. So that even when you're equipping them, if I'm not here, call this number. this is, you know, the priority of things and how they roll. Because you will not always be with your children, by the way. Use platforms like Common Sense Media. It's an NGO that helps me to pre-screen. It is such a good platform.
Common Sense Media.
Common Sense Media.
Right.
They want to watch a movie that is out on big screen. It tells you if it has educational value. It tells you if it has violence. It tells you if it has vulgar language and what kind of language is there. It tells you about representation, right? You know what that means. It tells you about consumerism, especially like for games, how you have to like put in money to get onto levels. It will give you all that. As a parent, if you just scroll down a bit, it will tell you what kind of conversations you can have with your children. For instance, if it's a game or it's a movie, it will tell you about teamwork, why is it important, about values, why it is important. So for you, you might really not be caring about the movie much, but there's a conversation that you can derive out of it. Imagine, umefanyiwa hiyo kazi yote.
Wow.
Common Sense Media. So I've given you 3 tools. Answer the Public, Common Sense Media. Which other one did I give you?
You give me another one called and
yes,
the 116, the toll-free number.
Yes.
The toll-free number. I can tell you for free, and most likely I think we need to have you to come back.
Sure.
Because the magnitude of the challenge is probably greater than we imagine.
Yes.
The contra is also true. That the magnitude of the opportunity we must have squandered must equally immensely be significant.
Yeah.
Life sometimes are about contrast.
Yes.
What we think has been a vice, the flip of it must be the opportunities also lost. But I think one of the most important things, then you've also said, is the fact that then all these things comes onto a foundation around how we function.
Yes.
And therefore, if we want to optimize, then we know what we need to do. Failure to doing it also means the vice waits at your door.
Oh yeah, it is a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. It's going to boomerang. And it can either boomerang positively or negatively, depending on what we do. Well, folks, I don't even know how to finish a conversation that has no end, really.
No, it does not.
We can only plan for yet another and another, but really, folks, I guess, and I want to say thank you once again for coming through, and thank you for sharing. I can tell you for free, you came alive. It tells me it's a sport of passion for you.
Thank you.
It is something you love to talk about. It is something you're passionate. This is not ticking boxes. For you, it looks like a passionate sport.
Yes.
And folks, I keep saying, man, gold mines are people who also find things that they are passionate around and build around them, because then you naturally get to do them. But if you've listened to everything there was to talk about, and I want to encourage you, man, you want to watch this conversation a couple of times, you want to share it as wide as you can, because then technology is such a beautiful blessing, but it's going to be such a gross pain depending on how you deal with it. In fact, we can as well say that then technology is fairly neutral. It depends on what you do with it. To some, they're building careers of the future, and they must invest time in there. To others, they're building possibilities that will change and transform the world, including themselves. But unfortunately, to others, depending again on what they're doing with it, it could be a pain. And the question is, we have a choice as a community. We do have a choice as society. We do have a choice as parents, and we do have choice also as children on what we must do with technology for it to really catapult us into the full gold mines that we truly are. And I think these discussions will become uncomfortable. These discussions must be as raw, must be as authentic, must become conversations that transform us first and foremost. And man, every time I sit in a parenting class, I then get a lot that then before I raise a child, I've got to raise me. And that is absolutely important, man. And really the question is to all of you parents out there, is there a sport that you need to raise yourself before you raise your children? Do you remember it's a monkey see, monkey do situation? They may not necessarily, if they have a conflict between following what you said and what you do, I hope you remember that they'll do what they saw you doing. And therefore there are many conversations. Well, we bring these conversations because we remind you, you're gold mines. But gold mines become intentional. Gold mines have difficult choices to make. But gold mines also then have to follow through these wonderful decisions with the actions that then must come through. At the end of the day, I want to remind you, your children must know, no matter what, they've got your arms to fall into. They've got love, they've got direction, they've got correction, they've got all of these things, but laced with love, man. I don't know how to finish this show. I'm sure you can tell, man. I'm struggling to finish this show, but just that one way or the other, we just have to find a way of finishing this conversation. But man, I want to ask you to invite you to also follow Evelyn. You want to share your social media handles?
Yes, Evelyn Kasina on most of my personal platforms, but my business is Eve Minute.
Eve Minute. How do you spell Eve Minute?
EVEMINETE.
And if I want to call you up,
I'll give you the number to call.
And then we can just put it out here.
Yeah, we'll put it on the phone.
All right, there we go, man. I think my team will ensure that then the number is put up in there so that the guys can reach out, man. The beautiful thing is that no matter where you are, help is available.
It's available.
Help is available. And you can reach out to Eve. You can reach out to Eve. And let's have this conversation, man. Don't drown alone, man.
Yeah.
Reach out, man. Reach out, and there is so much help available. And we just want to remind you, man, we believe in you. We see the gold mine in you. And we want to keep nurturing and encouraging you. Become all that you're meant to be. Because truly, you're a gold mine. Don't forget to follow us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, and all of these wonderful pages. But more importantly, keep sharing these conversations and let's empower and enlighten one or two other individuals around us. Until next time, keep working your greatness. Keep becoming the greatness that you are. Don't you quit on you, and don't you quit on your children as well. Keep becoming everything that you're meant to be. God bless you, and see you next time.